peace, and blessings. This is Jewel Master 1162 with a special edition of Dropping Jewels. This is a special edition because I'm going to remix a jewel that I did before called the Magic Jewel. And it's a special edition because I'm going to call this the I Ain't Gonna Tell You No Wrong edition of Dropping Jewels. What do I mean by that? Well, when I was growing up in my family and in my community, they used that expression when they wanted to know that whatever they was getting ready to tell you or whatever they had just told you was so important that you really needed to listen, and then I'm telling you because I care about you. Let me give you an example. You might be hanging out with somebody who's out your league, and you run by one of the elders in the community, and the elder might give you a look and might say, "Yeah, watch the company you keep, young man." Now, you ain't paying no attention. You say, "Oh, Lie," or "Junior," or whatever. You say, "Oh, that's my main man," or "that's my people," or whatever expression you use at the time. Back in the days, we had different expressions. And he said, "All right now, I ain't gonna tell you no wrong. Watch the company you keep." Now, what that means is the person you hanging with might have been out of your league. They might have been a stone killer, or they might have been a sociopath, or whatever. And you might be hanging with them through a friend of a friend, or you might have known them your whole life, but you don't realize this about that person, that person might get you into some mayhem. You might go out with that person and think you'll go to the movies, and that person stop and rob a liquor store. Somebody may be out to get that person. That person may be involved in some stuff you don't know. So when that older person in the neighborhood or in your family told you, and you acted like you wasn't going to pay no attention, they would say, "I ain't going to tell you no wrong." And that meant that you had to pay attention, and I'm telling you this because I care about you. Now, what I'm about to tell you, I ain't going to tell you no wrong. I'm telling you this because you need to pay attention and because I care about you. This jewel that I'm about to remix for you now is so important that I want you to remember it every day for the rest of your life. It couldn't be that much more important. Now, I want to clear up some things because I call this jewel a magic jewel. I said I should fulfill, or I will fulfill the promise that I made to myself. And I suggested you repeat that over to yourself a few times, even if you didn't understand why. Well, before people in the mosque, in the temple, in the synagogue, and the church get on me about misleading the youth, or what am I teaching young people, magic, what is that about? I'm going to break it down to you. What you feel and hear and taste and touch and see with your five senses is what most people call the material world, or what we call time and space. Now, there's different terms to describe it. Some people call it the dimension of time and space, the realm, the vibration, the domain, whatever you want to call it. Some people feel that in the Bible it was referred to as earth as opposed to heaven. What this means is that all those things you perceive with your physical senses are limited. They can, you can only understand so much. You can only feel certain things. Some things are below that threshold. You can only see so far. You can only see things so small, etc., etc. So there's a limit to this physical world. Now, when I said a magic jewel, I was talking about love and faith. Now, how are love and faith magic? Love and faith are not of the physical world. They are of the infinite world, or the eternal world, or beyond time and space. Now, you can call it a world, you can call it a dimension, you can call it a domain, you can call it a realm. But love and faith are not limited by time and space. They are infinite. So that's what I mean when I say they are magic, because it is hard for us to fully comprehend that which is infinite because we are in time and space. I'm practically 50 years old. When I try to imagine 100 years, twice my lifetime, it's difficult. I can try to wrap my mind around that idea. But to wrap my mind around 1,000 years, it's practically impossible. I can try to imagine it, but it's like I really don't have any frame of reference for that large. So when we're talking about infinity, that's beyond our comprehension in certain ways with our regular physical senses. So I'm not teaching you no sorcery, but I'm teaching you what I call magic because I'm dealing with the infinite. I'm dealing with love and faith. Now, what can the infinite do that you might refer to as magic? What I'm about to tell you today, the reason I told you to say those words is because it will cause you to remember something that you told yourself before you even existed. Now that sounds crazy. See, in the regular linear world of time and space, that doesn't make sense. How can you remember something you told yourself before you even existed? But in the realm of love and in the realm of faith, that's possible because they are infinite. Now, when I was a younger child, they had a program called Roots, and it showed some of the horrors of slavery. Now, you can look up Roots and watch some of the television programs about slavery. You can read slave diaries, but you don't have to. All you have to do is imagine your worst day and imagine every day was like that. Imagine something where somebody could tell you to do whatever and you had to do it and things would never get no better. Imagine walking around with 2 buckets full of bricks up and down the hill every day for the rest of your life, from the time you're 7, 8, 9 years old, from can't see in the morning to can't see in the evening. Those are some of the horrors of slavery, and we just skimming the surface. But I don't want you to focus on the horrors. I want you to focus on the love and the faith of those who endured slavery. Because when that program came on, I was probably in junior high school. And me and my friends, being ignorant, we said, man, I couldn't have been no slave. I would have did this and I would have did that. And still today, a lot of people feel like, man, I couldn't have been no slave. I would have bucked and I would have did this. And I feel that's true. I would like to think that I would have revolted in some way. But I'll never know. But the reality of it is that I probably wouldn't have made it to adulthood. They would have drowned me or hung me while I was a child because I asked too many questions. I would have been wanting to learn how to read. And once I learned how to read, I would have been trying to teach the other enslaved people. So they would have probably got rid of me. If they didn't get rid of me, I probably would have committed suicide. The reason that I say that is because if you take somebody 8, 9 years old, and they know that for the rest of their life they have nothing but hard labor in front of them, and it is never going to get any better, how do they continue to get up and go through that suffering every day? Love and faith is how they did it. Young people, you are why they did it. They had love for you and they had faith for you before you even existed. They loved the very idea of you. And they loved the very idea of you so much that it made their lives endurable for centuries, for millions of slaves. What I want you to understand is that this love, see, they knew that what was going on was not right. They knew that the natural nature of things was freedom. And they knew this wasn't the way it's supposed to be. But they endured because they loved the very idea that one day you would exist. One day you would be free. And they had such faith and such love that every day that they went out there and worked in them fields, it was like a love letter to you. It said, I love the very idea of you so much that I will endure. One day, it's not going to be like this. One day, you will have things different. And today is that day. And that love and that faith is so powerful that it called you into existence. Again, they loved the very idea of you before you were even born. Now, let's get back to the jewel. I shall fulfill the promise that I made myself. That love being infinite was so powerful that it's difficult for us to comprehend. But that love letter wants nothing from you except to love you. But in that love, it wants you to recognize and acknowledge it. Not out of some ego, but because it knows that if you recognize and you acknowledge that infinite love that you are surrounded with, you will be a different person. You will live a different life. When you know without a shadow of a doubt that you're loved, you won't do some of the things that you do to yourself. I won't do some of the things that I do to myself. When I recognize and acknowledge the love that surrounds me, I will be a different person. I will not put up with some of the things that other people would do to me. My entire life is lived in a different way because I know that I'm loved. Well, young people, I want you to know that you are loved beyond time and space. You were loved before you got here. You are loved now, and you will be loved even after you leave this physical existence. That is the magic. That is the infinite power of love. When I suggest that you repeat the phrase, I shall fulfill the promise that I made myself, in that love that those slaves had for you was the promise. Please remember, I have always loved you. I love you, and I shall always love you. Promise me that you will remember. And when you came into this world, you accepted that promise, that you would remember the love that the infinite has for you. So my younger sisters and brothers, it's not going to judge you. It's not going to punish you. It's not going to suck its teeth at you. It's not going to look down at you. That love, when I say it is infinite and beyond time and space, I mean that love is still here right now. At any given moment, 24 hours a day, you can tune in to that infinite love and experience. I don't care what your five senses tell you. I don't care how badly another human being treats you. I don't care what circumstance that you are caught up in. That love is available to you. That love is just like a radio station that is being beamed to you 24 hours a day. If you tuned into something else, it's still there. You can tune into the material world, the five senses of what's going on around you. But when you want, you can change that dial and you can tune in to the frequency or the vibration of love. And that infinite love can cause changes in this physical and material world where you don't see the cause. The cause can be love or faith, and the effect can happen in this world, but you don't see it. So it appears to be what we call magic. It appears to be something that we cannot comprehend. So my young sisters and brothers, I ain't going to tell you no wrong. The magic jewel is, I shall fulfill the promise that I made to myself. Say it a few times in the morning and a few times in the evening with sincerity. I shall remember that I am loved before I was even born. When there was only an idea of me, I was loved. Right now, no matter what I do, right or wrong, I'm loved. And even after I've gone through this world, from this world, I shall be loved. And you take that love around with you, and whatever you're going through, whatever circumstance you may encounter, you can feel love. Each day, take a few minutes and feel that love. Feel that love that made a slave able to endure a living hell. And know that that love was for you. So this has been a remix of a magic jewel. When I say magic, I'm not talking about sorcery or anything that's contradictory to the scriptures. When I say magic, I'm talking about the infinite power of love and faith. Young people, if you could acknowledge and recognize how much you were loved even before you were born, if you could recognize and acknowledge how much you are loved, the very idea of you, you would be a different person. So this is Jewel Master 1162 telling you I ain't going to tell you no wrong. Take a few minutes each day and feel that love. Accept that love. Recognize that love and appreciate that love. Because that love is there for you throughout all time and all space. Beyond all time and all space. No one on this earth can ever take that love away from you. Remember, before you were born, the very idea of you was love. Have enough faith to just say those words. I shall fulfill the promise that I made myself. I shall fulfill the promise I made myself. I shall remember, first, last, and always, beyond all time and all space, the very idea of me was love. This has been Jewel Master 1162, remixing the special I Ain't Gonna Tell You No Wrong edition of Dropping Jewels. I shall fulfill the promise that I made myself. Peace and blessings.